Welcome, everybody, to episode 6 of The Female Perspective. I'm your host, Jackie Reese, joined again by my trusty co-host, Lindsey Bradley. How you doing this Valentine's Day, buddy?
Oh, not bad. How are you? We're
Good.
back in action.
Yeah, we're back in action. Jensen filling in last week. You had stuff going on, but I'm
Yep,
excited to get back to get back to you and me. Of course, I enjoyed my time with her, but love spending time with you too.
that's awesome.
Will you be my Valentine?
No thanks. I'm good.
What?
You got one. I know you got one.
Do you have any Valentine's Day plans here?
No, I do not, unfortunately.
That's okay. It's
It's just
overrated.
it's just another yeah, it's just another calendar day year.
Yeah,
Or
tell me about
calendar
it.
day.
Did it.
Yeah. Just another
So,
day of the year.
yeah, no kidding. I, what a weekend. Like, every single weekend, in the beginning of the year, we're like, man, I hope the craziness continues to ensue week in and week out. And I think we've been getting that. Like, it was a pretty wild weekend in Anaheim for the third round of Supercross in Anaheim.
Yeah, no shortage of crashes yet again. And I feel like we say that every weekend. There's people going down and going down hard.
Mhm.
It sucks obviously because there are a lot of top guys that are going down, but yeah, it makes for good racing. Track was technical this weekend, and I don't know, what do you think about the layout? I actually really like that whole. There was a section right after the whoops that were it was super tight, and I really like that how they threw that in there.
Yeah, I think it was different, right? Like when you go to the same stadium time after time, like I think it's easy to have them kind of blend together, have them seem like the
Hmm.
same, but we've really seen three different Anaheims. It was like 90 degrees Fahrenheit there during the day, so very impressed at how much moisture they were able to get into the track. But I don't know, overall, I thought it was a great track. The whoops were the biggest obstacle in my opinion.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
Yeah, I think I mean, I feel like we say that every week that the whoops are super challenging.
Yeah.
They are super tall, but I found like, well, watching Anderson, like a tall guy go through there, he was struggling every lap. No matter which line he was still struggling.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it was technical, challenging, but it makes for good racing, so I liked it.
Yeah, I agree. It's nice to have a differentiating factor in the track. Like, not only are the racers racing each other, they're also racing the track. And as we'll talk about in a little bit here, I think Christian Craig was able to master the whoops this weekend, and that played in his favor. He was able to take off and really use that to his advantage in his heat and main overall this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you see how fast he was going through there?
He's the
That
only one
was
that makes him.
unbelievable.
He's the only one that makes him look good. Like,
Oh, yeah.
and for the best guys in the world, and one of them makes them look good, you know that they're difficult. You know that they're
Oh,
hard to hit.
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, do you think that they were too tough? Do you think that maybe they should have tamed them down so that more riders would be more comfortable in the whoops this weekend?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough question because it like you said, it makes for good racing when the riders are also challenging themselves, like they're racing the track, but not only their competitors. So I don't know if they tame them down, it's almost as sketchy because you could go three wide through there a little bit more wide open, and that could be catastrophic too.
Hmm.
So I don't know. It's yourself, the track, your competitors. It doesn't really matter. It's all going to be challenging at the end of the day. So I don't know. I don't know. It's a tough question. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would open up more competition between riders, but I also think that racing the track and mastering the track is a part of racing and is an important part of racing. So I kind of like the balance. In years past, we've seen tracks that were shorter, less variance in lap times. So I think that this is really, uh, just kind of a game changer for the racing as a whole. And as we've seen people rise and we've seen people fall because of it. And I think that that's an interesting plot twist that we might not have gotten if the whoops were a little bit easier.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Canadian highlights here. Cole Thompson, last week we talked a little bit about it. We weren't quite sure of his injuries, but last weekend in Glendale, he was landed on, suffered a torn labrum in the shoulder, and is unfortunately out for the remainder of the season, which is such a bummer. He was doing so good,
Yeah.
and it really is a bummer that it was something out of his control. He had a solid program going. He was a rock. He was always there, consistent, and just to have something, out of the blue take him out is major bummer for me.
Yeah, I think so too. It sucks even more too that it, like you said, it was out of his control. He got landed on, so it's certainly an unfortunate circumstance, but I mean that's just the way it goes sometimes. Yeah, hopefully we'll see him back next year. I would think so, but yeah, hopefully we'll see him back next year in the American Series.
Yeah, I hope so. Have you ever been landed on? Jensen last weekend shared that she had been landed on, and I have not, so I want to hear about from you.
No, so fortunately, I have never been landed on. However, when Jensen told you that, I immediately thought back and I was like, I know exactly where she's talking to. And it was just at a local race, and it was I think she was in like the junior class or maybe schoolboy. And yeah, someone landed on her. I'll never forget it. But yeah, because my dad and I used to go to the races a lot with the Amiots with Quinn and Jensen and her brothers Bennett and Mitch. Um, yeah, so we traveled a lot with them, and I'll never forget the ride home. Like she was just all black and blue and bruised, and I don't know if you saw a picture of my fingers from this year when I had that nasty injury, but hers were like just identical to that, so swollen, black and blue, and like 4 times the size as they should have been. Like it was, yeah, and right away too. Like took her glove off, and they were instantly swollen. I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
I
Yikes.
feel like it would be such a crappy time though.
Watch your mouth.
I almost swore. Yeah, I caught myself there. Usually I'm pretty good at, yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
teach
okay.
kids I teach kids at the ski hill, so you have to be careful.
They're gonna start saying it back to you.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know. That's like my worst nightmare. Like anytime I cross over the track, I'm like looking over my shoulder, trying to hit a line, right, where there's no kicker in the jump or something like that coming out of a corner. I'm like, please, please no, please see me as I'm hitting
Yeah,
the jump and stuff. So, yeah, worst nightmare and major bummer for her, but sounds like she was okay from it. She
yeah.
remounted the horse.
Oh yeah. Yeah, eventually. Took a couple weeks off, I remember, I think, but yeah, she was all good to go.
Yeah. So, KTM Junior Challenge in Anaheim 3, Evan Wiltsey from BC finished 13th. Another Canadian kid. Seems like we have a Canadian kid almost every single weekend that there is KTM Juniors. What do you think?
Yeah, it's awesome to see, and like you said, it's pretty well every weekend now that they've had them, that we've seen a Canadian or two even.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's super cool to see, and like we've said in weekends past, it's obviously not close to kind of pack their stuff up and go, but yeah, it's really cool to get their names out there and represent Canada in a good way.
Yeah,
Love
absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. So, I guess my question for you is these kids are racing the E5s, the KTM E5s, the electric 50s. Um, are they popular in Canada yet? As popular as they may be here in the United States?
Well, I don't know what's it like there. Like we have like a just a 50 class, and then we also have like an e-bike thing. But anyway, the e-bike thing is definitely not as big as I don't think it is in the States, but there's probably for every 5 kids on a 50, there's probably 2 on e-bikes. So
That
it's like
might
a
be
pretty
more.
like
Yeah,
a 70-30 ratio ish
yeah,
right
yeah.
now. But I like everyone that I've talked to that has their kids on those bikes, I don't think they'll go back to a gas bike now, especially on 50s. They're so easy. And
Yeah.
I mean, one of my buddies, Steve Sims, his daughter has one, and
Nice.
it has different like settings you can have it on. And on like the fastest setting, I was riding it around at Gopher, and I can wheelie it. Like it wheelies with my 120 pounds on it. It's pretty cool, honestly. Like you
Okay,
can't go wrong with something like that.
that's awesome. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
they might be more popular in Canada. Like, we have a lot more kids here riding, but they're all still on conventional gas-powered bikes. There's, I don't know, lower turnout in the electric classes. I think it's a little bit tougher of a sell in the United States, just electric versus gas so far.
Yeah.
But you have me thinking about the Stark. So that E5 is wheeling you. Like, can you imagine the
Yeah.
Stark at 80 horsepower? Like, could you hang
No,
on?
probably not. I feel like my arms would fall off, but
Yeah.
that's just me. I'm just little, so I'll stay on a 50 forever, on an E50.
That's kind of awesome though. But I think
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
The Stark 2 has uh different modes. You don't have to have it in 80 horsepower all the time. Like you can
No,
tame it
yeah,
down too. Yeah.
I would think. Just
Hmm.
like a conventional bike, anyways, you can if you have like a YZ250, you can put a small or a bigger flywheel weight in it, so it tames it down a little bit. And
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
same thing, but different, I guess.
Yeah.
All new technology.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. Like, can you imagine someday just driving to the track in your electric truck with your electric bike and I don't know, maybe solar power charging your batteries. Like, I think that's so cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Even in like bigger mall plazas and stuff in Canada right now, they have like outlets for electric vehicles because they're starting to become a big thing here.
hmm
I don't know about there, but they're starting to become a big thing here.
Yeah, I can see Canada being more receptive to the electric transformation. But we too have, the e-charging stations, and they are like when you outweigh the amount of money that you'll pay on gas versus the amount of money you pay, okay, your car and gas versus your electric vehicle and electric charging, I think
Right.
in the long run, your electric vehicle really will end up being less expensive than the gas-powered vehicle.
I mean, one would think anyways.
You'd hope, right? If you're trying to incentivize people
Yeah.
to go that way, it's a larger investment up front, but cheaper
Yeah.
to fill up.
And
Fill up.
with gas prices right now in Canada,
Yeah.
it's unbelievable, honestly. Like we're where I am anyways, it's cheaper than most places, but we're like a buck 51 per
Per
liter.
liter. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
which is
that's
outrageous. I don't think in
yeah.
the amount of years I've had my driver's license, I'm certain that I haven't paid that much in fuel.
Yeah. That's like what, $6 a gallon, 4 liters in a gallon. So that yeah, here
Yeah,
it's not even
something like
close to
that.
that.
Yeah,
We're
we're
at
and I'm cheap. Like that's where I am, and it's cheaper a little bit further north. But anywhere if you go south towards the city, like towards Toronto,
sure.
they're like $1.70.
Yeah.
So it's crazy, man. Honestly, like I drive a Honda Civic in the winter, and I have never ever put $60 in to fill it, and I just did it today.
Jeez, dude.
It was crazy.
I know.
And
I
it's
know.
Honda Civic.
I yeah, I put $40 into my small van and I was like, man, this is ridiculous. I've never paid this much, but it is what it is, I guess. My big van,
Yeah.
it's like $100 every time and it's painful, so
Oh yeah. Yeah. It
yeah.
hurts. Hurts the
Yeah.
bank account.
Yeah. Well, back to motocross here.
Yeah, sorry, we're getting off topic.
Off topic, but relevant, I guess. Uh,
Yeah.
we're moving to 250 East. We've been on 250 West so far this season. 250 East starting next weekend in Minneapolis here. I will be there to watch a plethora, I guess I will say, of Canadian riders. Very excited to see them take to the track in the 250 East series.
Yeah, I we were just talking about this before, but I'm really excited to see Julian Bennick. He's a Canadian kid from BC, but he's been down at south of the border. He's riding for PRMX, and I'm really excited to see him go. He really showed some speed in the Canadian Supercross series, so I'm excited to see what he can do in the American series for sure. So we have a couple Canadians, and I don't think Jeff Pettis is going to be ready, but I haven't heard, and I mean,
Yeah, I,
what
I
do you
haven't
think?
heard either. Not a lot of updates on his part from social media, but of course we're not totally in tuned, and it's
Right.
still a bit odd that social media is our official, you know,
Go to.
media platform for updates like that. But I
Yeah.
don't know, broken collarbone less than a month ago, I would at least take 6 weeks with a broken
Mhm.
collarbone. Hopefully more to fully recover before he jumps in. Hopefully, because once you have one injury, it could cause weakness in your riding or
Yep.
compensation in other ways and just lead to another injury. So hopefully he's able to heal up and rejoin in the series later on. But major bummer again for Jess Pettis. We talked about this a few weeks ago. It's just injury after injury for him.
Yeah, that kid cannot catch a break, and I'm
Yeah.
so bummed for him because he's a really good rider, obviously, and a really good Supercross rider at that. I think he would have done well in the series for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tanner Ward, been
Yep.
down training on his Kawasaki. Big news there
Mhm.
that switched to from Honda to Kawasaki. How do you think Tanner's going to stack up this weekend?
I mean, I think he'll do well. He's always been a great Supercross guy. Again, I feel like everyone we talk about is good at Supercross that's from Canada. But yeah, no, I think Tanner will do well. He's done it in the past before. I think one or two races here and there. Obviously on a Honda though, so I don't know. He's only been on the Cowie maybe what do you think, a month maybe
Yeah, about.
at this point? Yeah. So not too much time, I guess, but I think he'll do well. I think I saw a video today. He looked pretty comfortable from what I can see. So hopefully he
Yeah.
does well.
Yeah.
That's all you can hope for, really.
Hopefully, and maybe I'll be able to catch up with him this weekend if I see him
Yeah,
around.
yeah, for
Um,
sure.
home track advantage for me here this weekend. It's supposed to be cold, so I hope they pack their uh, layers and ready for cold bikes.
Yeah.
Uh, Move back to this weekend's racing in Anaheim, 250 West. They're going on a break here as we're talking about 250 East. Who impressed you this weekend as they're closing out their first stint of the 250 West series?
Um, I mean, I feel like I'm just repeating myself at this point, but I gotta give it to Christian Craig again. That guy's been unstoppable all year.
Hmm.
He's really showed some speed, consistency, and through the whoops, he's always impressive. And I think that's a really advantageous part of the track for him. But yeah, no, I think Christian Craig is my pick for the 250 West.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. At the beginning of this, though, you and Ev were totally sold on Christian Craig, and I was not totally convinced. I was like,
Hmm.
who knows? Like, the track record isn't completely consistent. But week in and week out, I've just seen him, overcome every obstacle that's come at him,
Hmm.
whoops, the track conditions itself, takeouts, falls,
Yeah,
anything. And he's able, to be that much better than everyone else on the track. Like, how can you not be impressed by Christian Craig? It's the
yeah,
Christian Craig show, I guess.
yeah. No matter what happens, he's always just sort of regrouped and done his best.
Hmm.
I think when I read the leaderboard there, he was only would he lose two motos in all of the West Coast? He won
Yeah, I
everything
think so.
else.
I
Four
think so.
moto wins and a second and a third, I think.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean, that's obviously impressive. With a stack class like that, that's super impressive.
And I really think that his key to success, not only this weekend, but all weekends past, was just that he was able to avoid mistakes. He was able to tackle the track, ride his own race. That's kind of cliche in our sport. Oh, I just went out there and I rode my own race. Like, okay. But really just avoiding mistakes on that track, especially in the whoops where his toughest competitors, the fastest guys, weren't quite able to be as successful in that section as he was. I think that really was advantageous for him this weekend, and just confidence wise going into this break, he's able to focus on everything that he's been able to overcome and know that he can overcome anything that comes at him. So I too am very impressed by Christian Craig. So who may have fell a bit short for you? There were some injuries. Um, that's kind of a not necessarily falling short for me, but just a disappointment. Lots of crashes, incidents this weekend. Who kind of didn't stack up quite for you in Anaheim 3?
Yeah, I don't know if a disappointment would. Well, it that's a hard question.
Yeah.
I think Joe Shimoda was really riding well, and I think he was really putting the pressure there for a while, and that unfortunate crash in the whoops really got him. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I think that was my he fell a bit short, if you want to call it that, for the weekend.
Hmm.
Obviously just because of the injury. Well, I haven't heard about his injury. I think he was going to the hospital to get his ankle checked out. But
Yeah.
yeah, hopefully we'll see him back. He's got 5 weeks now, so hopefully we'll see him back. And yeah, that sucks for him big time. He was riding really well yesterday, or sorry, Saturday.
Yeah. I agree. It's such a letdown. Like, of course, for us as fans, but for him, I'm sure he's been trying so hard, and things have just kind of not really been stacked in his favor this season. But an injury to top it all off is not like him. In seasons past, he's been very consistent and not really one to make mistakes like this. So,
Right.
overall, just uh, disappointing for us, but overall disappointing for him. I'm sure even worse. Like we've talked about before, we are our worst critics,
Yeah.
and so I'm sure he's feeling pretty hard on himself, which is a bummer because he's one of the best motocross riders in the world. So,
Yeah.
yeah, disappointed in that. Hopefully, Hunter Lawrence too will be okay after that crash this weekend in the whoops again. Um, yeah, just taking those whoops, taking a lot of the top guys down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like tons. They were eating people alive really. And I heard Ricky and Daniel Blair talking about it there during the moto, and they had Zacho on the ground, and Ricky's like, is there a good line to go through here? And he's like, honestly, not really. Like they're all kind of they have their advantages and disadvantages. So whether or not you go to the left, to the right in the middle, it kind of just ate up a lot of people regardless. You just kind of I think from what he was saying, hold back, lean back, hold on, and hope for the best. Because they were
Survive.
just gnarly. Yeah, just crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other notable moments for you in the 250 class last weekend?
Moseman had a really good ride considering what happened. He crashed twice and you know, still was up there. So I think Moseman had a pretty notable ride for sure. And what's that? I can't remember the guy's name in the LCQ. He crashed twice and still qualified.
Harriman.
And thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was
Oh man.
impressive, honestly. Like he
Yeah.
led for a minute, then he fell back to second, and then he went down, and then he got back up, and then he was in maybe fifth, and then passed back to a qualifying spot, and then went down again. Oh,
Dude.
could you imagine crashing twice in I think it's a 5 minute LCQ. He
Yeah.
crashed twice and
Mm.
still qualified.
Yeah. I
That's
mean,
pretty impressive.
you and I are on the edge of our seat for that, but like how does he feel? He he
Oh,
has to be losing
yeah.
it.
Oh,
Seriously,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. And I guess my final thoughts on the 250 class is Marchbanks. Not a
Yes.
great couple weeks for him past 2 weeks, but able to win his heat and finish fourth overall, charging from the back of the pack. So
Yep.
making that Club MX Yamaha really, really shine, and something that I think that that team needed, and something
Yep.
that he personally needed to prove to himself.
Yeah, I think so too. He was 18th at the start of that moto and worked his way back to fourth. So that was super impressive ride for him. Won the heat race, and you're right, the team needed that big time. He's always been kind of up there, but I also remember him saying that he hasn't won a heat race since 2018, I believe. So it's been coming for him for a long time, and I was super stoked that he got that for sure.
Yeah.
They're one of their sponsors there is from Ontario, so it was pretty cool.
Oh,
Jeffrey Holmes.
who's that?
They're that like all their boys used to race in
Oh,
Canada. Alex Jeffrey, Eric Jeffrey, and Alex Eric. I can't remember the middle kid's name.
okay.
Anyways,
All right.
besides the point, they're from Ontario, and yeah, they sponsor that team, so it was
That's
pretty
awesome.
cool.
That's
Yeah,
cool. Yeah. Cool Canadian connection.
yeah, sort of, but not really.
Yeah. Moving on to the 450 class. Who impressed you? Lots of chaos here again. Who was able to avoid the chaos and really make an impact for you this weekend?
I mean, all night I was really hoping that Anderson could do it again, um, and he did for sure. I did think for a second there that when Tomac was pulling on him, I'm like, oh, here it is. He might make a bit of a mistake, and then Tomac's gonna gap on him, pass him and gap on him, and that would be it. But no, he really showed some speed and determination, and I know how bad he wants it now. He said it on the podium time and time again, and he wants that title. So I think he's fully capable of it, and he really impressed me this weekend.
Yeah, I think it's awesome, right? Like, he is definitely a West Coast guy, so I will be very
Mhm.
interested to see how he does as we move to the East Coast rounds that are a bit softer, a bit ruddier. Um, as a rider in general, he's just kind of loose to me, which
Yeah,
totally works in his favor, especially on West Coast tracks. But I don't know if that will necessarily translate to the East Coast, where if you make a mistake, you're cross rutting and maybe making more mistakes than if you were on the West Coast. Um,
right.
but going back to this weekend, I really think that he was impressive. He was going for it. It's not like, he
Yep.
just settled for second or third or something like that. Like, he saw Tomac, he saw that he wanted to beat him and that he wants to show that he's still in contention for this championship. So, like you said, I'm glad to see El Hombre up in the mix and fighting for it.
Yeah, and he has a lot of determination because he got so sketchy through the whoops a few times, and he knew that Tomac was there, so he'd still go for it every single time through the whoops. He's like, well, like because some guys were jumping through them or whatever, but he's like, I can't do it, can't lose time, so he just went for it, lean back, hold on, and hope for the best.
No kidding.
And sometimes it worked, and sometimes it was a little sketchy, but it worked.
He survived, right? Like,
Yeah,
that's the theme of the whoops last weekend is just make it through. Like,
survival.
and he didn't really let it alter how he took the next section of the track, right? Like, it's not like, oh, I kind of messed up a little bit, now I'm going to mess up the corner, now I'm going to mess up the next rhythm. Like, he was able to
Yeah,
just overcome it and know that that section was its own section and move on from it each lap. So
yeah,
I was pretty impressed by that too.
yeah, absolutely.
Tomac, what'd you think? I think he's in it for the long run. Like, his
I
performance showed that he's in it for the long run.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I agree 100%. He definitely did not give up the fight the whole moto. It was pretty close right there at the start. And watching the scoreboard, he was only, I think, max maybe 3.5 seconds, but it stayed within that 3.5 to like 2.5 range.
Hmm.
So he didn't let him out of his sight for sure. It was a good race. I was impressed by Tomac as well.
And I think too, it showing that second was what he could do this weekend. It shows some maturity in his long game thought for the championship. We have a lot of racing left here, and second in the long run almost is as good as a first. So he kept the points lead and was able to, still show that he's the boss of the series right now.
Right. For sure. I agree.
What do you think about Kenny this weekend?
Yeah. I mean, I've always liked Kenny, but this weekend I was I don't know. I wouldn't say I was disappointed, but he didn't ride himself for sure. He didn't ride like the normal Kenny would, and I mean he was battling with McElrath. He
Yeah.
was winning motos a few weeks ago, and he was battling with McElrath this weekend. So I
Hmm.
think that really says a lot, and hopefully he can regroup for the East Coast. I feel like he does well on the East Coast, so yeah, hopefully he can regroup and see what he can do.
I hope so. He and Webb, for me, I hope they can get back in the fight, make that racing more interesting. But Tomac and Anderson have really shown themselves as the two that are in this for the title and able to do it for the long run, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Any other notable rides for the 450 class for you?
Uh, I don't know. I'm just trying to think back on the moto now, honestly. It's hard to remember when you do it a few days later, but
Well, tell me about it. We were doing this on Tuesdays and putting it out on Wednesdays, and
yeah,
even then,
I
I
know.
was like, "What?
What
Can't
happened?
remember the race at all."
And it doesn't help that like 98% of the time I fall asleep and then watch the mains in the morning. So,
Tell me about it.
um, yeah, you forget what happens in the heat races and then watch the mains in the morning. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know if I have any notable 450 mentions. Do you?
Yeah, overall, great racing in the 450 class. Like I said at the beginning, this is all we could have ever asked for. Shake-ups, unexpected finishes, excitement every weekend. I hope this continues for the season on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been really good racing, and that's all you can ask for as fans. So, yep,
Yeah,
let's carry on to the East Coast.
absolutely. So, Christian Craig is now 28 points over Mosman in the championship. Eli Tomac holds on to the points lead again this weekend and is 12 points ahead of Anderson. Is this going to be the Star Racing Yamaha dominance, in maybe every single championship this year? Do you think that they will wrap up every single championship this year?
I don't know. It's hard to say, honestly. I think obviously they have some pretty notable riders. There's a couple of guys from Star Racing that are coming into the East Coast too that are fast. So I don't know. It's hard. It's a hard sell for sure. I know Levi Kitchen is gonna be fast, but it's also I think is this his first year pro? I think it is.
Second. Second.
Well, he might have been in the A class last year, but I think this is like his first year racing Supercross.
I don't remember. The
Yeah.
years blend together for me, but
But yeah,
yeah.
anyway, he is fast. Will he be a title contender in his first year? I don't know, but he is fast for sure. So yeah, I don't know. It's a tough sell for sure. Obviously, Tomac's been pretty dominant in the 450 class, so I don't see him losing that dominant sense of dominance going into the East Coast for sure.
Hmm. Yeah, and building off that, like I think Christian has this lockdown, right? So we have Star Yamaha at 450 overall, 250 West overall, and maybe 250 East. Like J Mart too can be a title
Yeah,
contender.
yeah, I
Opening
know.
round
Yeah,
here, hometown round in Minneapolis. We haven't seen him finish a season in a little bit here, but hopefully this is his year. It would be great to see him win in Minneapolis. I think the crowd would go nuts for it.
yeah, he's definitely an East Coast guy. I know he's really good at outdoors, and the East Coast resembles well, not resembles a lot, but a lot of their tracks like Daytona and stuff are a little bit more wide open as it resembles a little bit more of an East Coast style, like an outdoor track. So I think he'll do well, and yeah, I'm excited as well.
Hmm. So, do you think that either J-Mart or Tomac or any other star rider can clinch the motocross championships too? Like we saw Ferrandis do it
Mm,
last year. I think he could do it again. He was pretty dominant, but Tomac too is looking threatening on that Yamaha this year.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't doubt it at all, and I wouldn't doubt any of those guys. They're all super fast, and Star Racing Yamaha has a good program. So yeah, I could see it. What are your thoughts?
I think so. Like honestly, they're just poaching the fastest guys and putting
Yeah,
them on bikes that they all seem to be very happy with.
yeah,
Um, they're set up for success. Like I think it's
yeah.
amazing, and there's over the course of history in motocross, there's dominant manufacturers for a time, and I think that we are back in a Yamaha phase of history
I think
here.
so. I
Yeah.
think so too. And like you said, they're set up for like success. Really, the amateur program that Star Racing Yamaha provides is obviously been pretty successful. And yeah, like Levi Kitchen came up through the amateur stuff. He rode the A class last year, and now he's riding pro. And it's funny you mentioned that. I was just talking to Steve Sims about it the other day, and he said, imagine a kid like Hayden Deegan. It's his first year on big bikes. Well, first full year on big bikes, and he's riding the Star Racing Yamaha track with Tomac. Like, how can you not get good by riding with a guy like Tomac every single day?
Absolutely.
So he's they're setting up the amateurs for success for sure. And I think you're right with the Yamaha era. I think we're in more of a Yamaha era now, which is super cool.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how long that they can continue and how long it takes for other manufacturers to realize that doing it independently might work better, right? They're an independent team, they're not a factory team. They are the factory team, but not necessarily tied to what Yamaha Japan wants them to do. So it could be an interesting turn of events here that, doing things a little bit differently might turn out better in the long run results wise.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah, that I'm just in shock. Like they're just
Yeah,
so good. Like
they are so good.
So
Without a
looking
doubt.
to Minneapolis next weekend, who do you think that this is going to benefit? Who do you maybe hope that this will benefit? 250 and 450.
You know what? I don't know. I've always been a big Jet Lawrence fan. I just like his riding style. I like how he always pushes himself every weekend, and he doesn't get down on himself either. Like, he could have a bad weekend, and he kind of like avoids the chaos almost, as best as he can, anyways. Obviously, so hopefully Jet Lawrence there is a 250 East title contender, and then I would hope that obviously the Canadian guys, Tanner Rohr, Julian Bennick, all those guys are going to do fairly well. I could see them in the top 10, hopefully. What do you think? What's your thoughts?
I hope so. I mean, 250 East seems way more stacked than 250 West. Like,
Big time.
with injuries, there's a lot going on. 250 West, like 250 East, like we forgot J Mart for a second. Like someone who's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
solid, a podium guy. We just forgot about. There's too many heavy hitters here. So,
yeah.
very exciting racing for me this weekend. I'm pretty excited to see it all play out live, which I've been saying for the past, I don't know, 3 weeks. So you can tell that I'm very excited to go to Supercross this weekend.
Pretty
Uh,
pumped.
but it it's a toss up. Like, you don't know who's going to come out swinging, who, as we talked about at the beginning of the year, those first race jitters will affect. And in the 250 class, you can't really let that affect you as much as the 450 class because you don't have as much time to recover if they take you down, if you have a bad result at the beginning. It's really important for people to come out solid and consistent, I think, if you're going to run for the championship.
Right. Absolutely. 100%. I agree.
Well, buddy, concluding thoughts. Exciting stuff here.
Um, well, just going back on the weekend there, I just thought of this. Logan Carnell had a good weekend this weekend in the 250 class. He was ninth overall, which was super cool. I got to know him a little bit here when he came into Canada to race Supercross. So he's a great kid, and yeah, that was well deserved for sure. Pumped for him.
Yeah, he was on PRMX for a while.
Yes.
Is he still, or is he on a different Cowie team?
No, it's that Cowie team. I don't even know the name of it with Bubba Polly
Oh, yeah.
I can't even
Numero
remember. Cade rode for
Technology is
them
one of
last
their
year.
sponsors.
Yes. Yes.
And one of my personal sponsors here. But yeah, that's really
Yeah.
cool to see, a very, very privateer team
Right.
making it in every weekend. Like, that's awesome for their team.
Yeah. I think he's made it in every weekend, and he went straight to the main. He didn't go to the LCQ this weekend, and he had a really solid ride with a ninth overall. So I was pumped for him for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I've said before, I'm just excited to go watch some Supercross racing. I am itching to get back on the wheels. It's been cold here, so I would like to go south, but got a couple more months in the snow here. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Me
I'm
too.
excited. I'm excited.
We're pretty snowed in Canada right now. It's pretty unfortunate.
Yeah.
Today it was
Well,
minus 25.
yeah, it's been about that here too. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It gets kind of depressing, honestly.
Honestly, it does. Yep.
Hmm.
I agree. Can't wait to get riding again here soon, but
Yeah.
a couple more months, we'll be at it.
Yeah. At least that snow gives you some job security.
I know. I know. Yeah, tell me about it.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you. It's been fun.
Yeah, it has been fun. We'll see you next week, hopefully.
Yeah, we'll see you next week. And thank you, everybody else, for joining us. If you haven't already, subscribe wherever you're listening so that you get that notification that we have a new episode out. We would love to have you share this with a friend if you enjoyed the episode. See you next week.